Hey guys, thank you so much for stopping by. My name is Hollabec. It is now a new month, which means it's time for me to set new goals. I have a bit of a theme going this month, so it's going to be Sewing September. So the very first goal is I want to design and then produce an autumn pinafore dress. Goal number 2 is to do a thrift flip, and if you're not familiar with what that is, I want to go thrift shopping through the area and find items that would be super dope if they were a little bit different, or items that would fit if they were a little bit smaller in some areas or bigger in some areas, and then I alter them or change them in some way. So I thought it'd be a lot of fun to experiment with. And finally, goal number 3, I need to finally get something in my shop, and I've really been enjoying experimenting with designing different things and sewing specifically, and I have been making these purses. So this is my prototype. It feels like it's so close to being a final product. So I'm gonna make some more, and if they're good enough, I'm gonna put them in my shop. So those are my 3 goals for the month, so let's get to work. I drew up the design for my purses a while ago, and so making them was fairly simple. The first part is to measure out each individual piece of the purse, including handles and sides and the inner lining. Once that's done, you just have to cut the pieces out and sew them together. And I'm not going to show you guys the exact pattern. If you're interested, let me know and I can do a video on how I make my purses. Otherwise, I sew them together as far as I can, and eventually I get to the point where I have to do one final line on the inner lining hand stitched as opposed to on my sewing machine. But afterwards they actually turn out pretty nice. And I had actually hoped to get these out in September, but it doesn't look like that's gonna happen. I just received my personal Hollabec design labels, which I'm super excited about. So I had to sew them in by hand into the purses I already made, but I'm excited to be able to sew them together with a sewing machine when I make future purses. But because these came so late, I really don't want to bunch my purses together with all the Halloween stuff that I have going on. Plus I'm going to be starting my blog soon, so I think I'll hold off a little bit longer on my purses. I'll keep making them, stocking them up, and hopefully late October or possibly early November, I plan on putting them in my shop. Last weekend I went thrifting and I got this huge bag of clothes, so I figured I'd show you what I got and what I'm hoping to change. The first item is this super cool jacket, which you guys probably will have already seen in my autumn treasures. So this is already a really cool piece, and the only thing that I want to change about it is the shoulder pads on the inside, which should be a super easy and quick fix. Next is this cool sheer blouse with a studded collar. I loved it as soon as I saw it, but the thing is it's a medium, which would normally work for me except for the fact that I got big boobs. So the buttons play peekaboo a little bit, but there's enough stretch in the fabric that I could easily tack it, and hopefully after that it will be all good to go. Next is this really cool black sweater dress. I've always wanted a sweater dress, so it caught my attention as soon as I saw it on the rack. Unfortunately, it is a 2X, so I think this is going to be just a bit too oversized. I'm obviously not a thin girl, so when you do oversized and you're kind of chunky, it makes you look a little bit chunkier than you actually are. So I think I'm going to try and take this in just a little bit, mostly around the waist, and hopefully after it will fit and look a lot nicer. And the last clothing piece is going to be the big project that I'm a little nervous about because I've never done anything like it. So I picked up this enormous pair of jeans. They are 4 sizes bigger than I would normally wear. But here's the thing about me. So I gained all of my weight in my legs. I have super chunky thighs and super chunky calves. It sucks, but it's just the way I am. So I've always wanted a specially tailored pair of pants, because if I buy pants that fit my legs, the waistband is always so blown out on me. So normally I'll buy so the waistband fits, but then the legs are tight, which is fine if I'm wearing skinny jeans. But I remember back when I used to wear flares because those were in style, and they always looked awful on me because they were always so tight around my calves, and then they did a little flare thing at the bottom. So my hope with this pair of jeans is I'll be able to bring in the waist and then maybe taper the ends just a little bit so I get kind of a boyfriend fit. But again, I've never done it before, so I am really nervous. The jacket was one of the simpler projects. Really, all I had to do was use a thread ripper to open up the inner seam, pull out the shoulder pads, then I hand stitched using an invisible stitch and closed the inner seam back up. Visually, I really don't think it made much of a difference, but I can tell you guys, it fits a lot better now. It just feels better. The button-down shirt was, of course, the easiest of all the projects. The button strips were double-sided, so I just sewed the two inner linings together. So the inner lining of the button strip and the inner lining of the buttonhole strip. And the shirt is definitely tight around my boobs, but at least we're not playing peekaboo anymore. I had actually changed my mind on the sweater dress. Originally, I wanted to take it in, and I changed my mind. I decided to keep the very oversized look, but I did really want to change the asymmetrical cut. I really didn't think it was doing the dress any favors, so I decided to do just a straight hem all the way across, and I wanted it to be a bit of a sturdier hem, so I used some quilt binding, and I think it actually does a lot for it. The thicker hem kind of helps hold the oval shape of the dress, and I definitely like it a lot better than the asymmetrical. And finally, let's talk about the pair of pants. It was a bigger project than I had originally thought, and I already anticipated it being a very big project. So after a quick measure, it ended up being 9 inches that I had to take off the waist, which was a lot, and I wouldn't recommend it. So it was really important to me to keep the original hems and bands. So I wanted to start with what I knew was going to be easy first, so I brought in the calves, which was as simple as measuring and then sewing and then cutting the excess fabric, and then I did also roll and then sew in place the cuffs of the pants. So that stuff was easy. But to keep the original hem and bands for the pants, I decided to remove them. So I removed the top band of the pants as well as the back pockets and all the belt loops. And so I started first with the band. I measured out my waist size, which of course meant cutting off the original button and the original buttonhole. So I had to add a new button and a new buttonhole, which surprisingly was the easy part of this. The really hard part was bringing everything in and then matching the overall pant size with the waist size so that when I sewed the band back on, they matched up. And in the end, it did bunch a little bit because I didn't get it quite exact. But overall, it wasn't bad. I will say it does really suck because the back pockets were darker on the inside, and I don't know if that was from wear or if that's just how they made the pants, but now there's dark strips where the pockets used to be, and obviously I had to resituate them to match the new size of the pants, so it doesn't look super great. So I don't know if I'd be confident enough wearing these out in public, but as far as a first attempt goes at altering pants, I'm pretty proud of myself, okay? I had a lot of fun with the pinafore dress, and of course it started with a basic design just to help me visualize what exactly I was going for. The next step was to take my measurements, which for the dress mainly included my waist and my boobs. From there I had to cut all of my pieces out, so a lot of that I measured and marked right on the fabric, and for the chest piece and the back piece I did draw it out on a piece of paper first, and then I transferred it to my fabric and cut it, just because they were very particular in how they were measured. And as far as measuring the skirt, because I added pleats to it, I had to do the math and give myself an extra amount of inches so that once I folded the fabric over to pleat it, it still fit me. So once all of my pieces were cut out, the next step was to pin my pleats. So I had to mark them first, and then I started folding and pinning. And once I finished that, then I could start sewing my pieces together, and it was incredibly easy to do. A pinafore dress is just a really basic design. So I sewed the waistband to the skirt, and then the front and the back piece to the band. And of course the front did have a pocket on it, so I did sew that before I sewed the front piece to the main skirt, and then the straps to the front piece and the back piece. And for being my first design and my first real sewing attempt, I think it turned out pretty well. If I were to make one change to it, which I will end up doing later, I do want to make the straps a little bit tighter because it is a little bit loose in the front, which I feel makes it look very grandma-ish, but that may just be because I have very large boobs. I feel like I've said boobs a lot in this video. Alright, but that was my last goal for this month. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Of course, if you did, please leave me a thumbs up. I love seeing those. They make me so happy. If you've not already, please subscribe to my channel. Even if we don't hit the big goal, it would still be nice to get as many subscribers as we can. And that being said, guys, I will see you the next time around.